and in turn it is being used as justification for war and intervention. It is no coincidence that Venezuela has the #1 oil reserves in the world. It is not true that the Venezuelan government is cruelly starving its people. The government provides food directly to millions of families on a weekly basis to get through the country's economic crisis. Just this week, Venezuela accepted large amounts of medical and food aid from its international allies, 10 times more than what Trump, Abrams, and Rubio are trying to force through the Colombian border. U.S. intervention in Venezuela will be catastrophic, as we've seen in past interventions. Anti-war forces have to be on the high alert in the event of an incident at the border this weekend that will trigger an avalanche of negative reporting to demonize the government of Venezuela. Such incidents are crucial elements of any war drive, as history has shown time and again, and it is critical that we mobilize to counter the U.S. war machine. Again, please join us on March 16th at 2 p.m. at Pershing Square. Answer has endorsed this call to action, which is being organized by a wide spectrum of progressive and anti-war organizations and leaders. Our demands are U.S. hands on Venezuela, no to the coup. The U.S. does not have the right to select the country's leaders. No to sanctions, oil embargo, and economic war on Venezuela that aims to cause suffering of the Venezuelan people. And no to intervention and war from the U.S. and their proxies in the regime, or in the region. So now I would like to introduce our first speaker. I would like to introduce Abby Martin, who is a journalist and creator of the show Empire Files.
Thank you, Sheila. We're at a crossroads right now. The U.S. empire has its sights set on Venezuela, and it's had its sights set on Venezuela since the election of Hugo Chavez. It's tried to install a puppet regime ever since, working with right-wing arms of the opposition to unseat a legitimate government with violent, undemocratic means. It hasn't worked for 20 years, and this latest coup attempt is a desperate power play, exposing the naked aggression and belligerence of the U.S. empire. After installing a crippling economic embargo and debilitating sanctions that have asphyxiated the Venezuelan economy and caused an untold amount of deaths, the U.S. has the audacity to use the very same crisis as the pretext to now invade. It's been 1 month since this coup attempt began by CIA stooge Juan Guaido, a man who 80% of Venezuelans had never heard of before. And it didn't go as planned because of the sheer resilience of the Venezuelan people, the sheer resilience and strength of Chavismo, and of the Bolivarian Revolution. But we know Trump is not going to back down here. He's already said the coup is, quote, too far along. And his administration has sent their goons to the border of Colombia, another U.S. vassal state, to continue to provoke Maduro into war. Again, they're using their very same life-saving medicine and food they've been blocking from the government for years in order to justify an intervention. As we speak, U.S. military aircraft and personnel are staged everywhere, from Puerto Rico to Colombia, preparing for an altercation. Marco Rubio has already claimed this morning that Venezuelan authorities are firing into sovereign Colombian territory, and that the U.S. has no choice but to respond. This is happening right now. The war drums are deafening. The threat of war is very real. Not just civil war, but potential U.S. bombings or invasion. The people carrying out this coup are literal war criminals who should be tried at The Hague. John Bolton engineered the most catastrophic war of my lifetime. He hid weapons and aid shipments to the Contras in Nicaragua. Elliot Abrams hid those aid shipments, weapons and aid shipments. They are war criminals who belong at The Hague. Trump is currently carpet bombing the Middle East. We know that these people will stop at nothing for big oil and the war machine. That's why it's imperative to be out in the streets mobilizing against this, against the U.S. government, against the Trump regime, and against another horrific attempt to overthrow another democracy in Latin America. Potentially millions of lives are at stake right now. We need your voices and bodies in the streets to say, hands off Venezuela. Please join us on March 16th in Pershing Square at 2 p.m. and march to City Hall to say no to another U.S. coup attempt in Venezuela, to no to the Trump regime, and no to another U.S. war
Thank you so much, Abby.